Kevin called back at you, PM Head of Cloud Management Solutions here at Supermicro, continuing our podcast on importing a Kubernetes compute into our control plane, which we defined as a developer console shard south. So before we get into the mechanics of the importing, we looked at the file itself. We need to edit this file, inventory.ini. But we want to do a couple of pre-flight checks before we get into launching the Ansible script. And that is, let's do some simple ping commands to see that our compute hosts are available, right? So we're on compute 4, so if we do a ping to ourselves, we should be able to get there, but let's just double check it. And we're using 158, so we can ping ourselves, which is good. We're going to clear it out again, and then let's see if we can ping the compute 5 host, which is 156. We can do so. And then the third one is the compute 6 machine, which is going to be .157, and we can ping it. So all 3 nodes are pingable. And so that is one of the important steps that we want to make sure that we complete, that these machines are reachable so that we can download through that Ansible script those appropriate software bits to build the Kubernetes compute cluster. And so the next thing is, which is important, is the host name control. And we want to make sure that our static host name is Kubernetes-compute 04. Now, this naming convention is something you can put into your enterprise, whatever name you want to use, but you want to follow the same naming convention because that host name needs to coincide with what you're putting into the inventory.ini file. If there's case sensitivity or there's the wrong characters, you called it differently, then your Ansible playbook is going to fail, which we will execute later on in this podcast. So the first thing we want to do here is look at the Kubernetes Compute 5 machine, and we'll cut and paste this. And you can see here might be doing the host name control command. The Kubernetes Compute 5, we use the same naming convention. So it's what we would expect to see. And then we're going to put in here also the Compute 6. We see the host name control as the name what we would expect too. So far so good. Our 2 checks for pre-flight checks are intact. So the next thing we're going to do is get into an inventory.ini file by issuing the command nano inventory.ini. And we'll go in and execute or make the changes, the appropriate changes in here. So our kube control plane is going to be the system that we're currently on. So we want to make sure that we can simply cut and paste that name into here, and we'll change it to 4. And then we'll also put in the IP address. Make sure you get the right IP address too of your system here, which is going to be 172.24.199.158. So try to make sure that you speak with your network administrators for your host allocation here. What did I do here? Okay, I was on the numeric keypad, and I have a tendency to do that, and that messes me up here. So let's start again. So we want to put in 172.24.199.158, right? Is what we're on, our system. And then we want to put the IP addresses the same there of 172.24.199.158. We're going to come back here and change this to 158. And also on the end here, we want to put in this special parameter there so we can check the key pairs. And that is Ansible underscore SSH underscore user. And let's just make sure that that is the correct parameter, and it is. And then what we want to do here is we want to simply come down here, cut and paste this line so we can save on keystrokes. So take this here, and then we want to place it down in the compute node. We want to do that twice. Okay, and here we're going to change the names to 5 and 6 and 6, and we want to change the IP address of 5 is going to be 156, and 6 is going to be 157. And be careful you don't put in the BMC IP address, right? Which sometimes, if you don't have your spreadsheet, sometimes you can mix up your IP addresses, right? So put in the in-band IP address of your Kubernetes compute that you're SSHing into. All right, so let's make the change here for the other one here to 6 and then 7. And then we don't need the Ansible underscore SSH user parameter at the end here. We only need to have it at the control plane because the control plane is going to pass the key pair to each one of these compute nodes. And you'll see later that there is a apt install command we have to issue to be prompted for passing of those key pairs. So double check your work here. So we're using Kubernetes Compute 4, which is the system we're currently on. It is sitting with IP address 199.158 and then 199.158 there. And we have the proper parameter there. And then also the Ansible underscore SSH underscore user. Let's double check my work to make sure I have the right parameter. Yes, I do. And actually, I think we need this Ansible SSH one here on the end. We do need to pass the key pairs here. Okay, so Ansible. Otherwise, it's going to fail here. Underscore user. All right. So we have that two there, those parameters, and let's just make sure we have the right IP address here, 156 and 157, and that is respectively compute 5 and compute 6. Okay, so let's save it. And what we're going to do next here is we're going to go to the group vars location. So group vars here. And we're going to see here a file there in the K8 cluster location called addons, addons.yaml, right? So we're going to vim that addons YAML file, and we're going to change the helm underscore enabled to be true. So let's insert and then change that to true. You don't have to use Vim or BI. You can use Nano too as well. I seem to change back and forth with this. So just remember though, it's an escape shift : WQ bang to save it, right? And let's just double check to make sure that that one has been changed. And let's scroll up here. Actually, what we can do here is something very simple. We'll grep it to Helm. And we see Helm underscore enabled to be true here at the bottom of the screen. All right, let's clear it out, the top. So next, what we need to do is we need to go to CD to what we call point slash or dot slash dot, gets us back to the south directory. And now we can issue the command apt install and then ssh has. And then that will load that special parameter key pair that we need to execute here in our Ansible script, right? So the next video clip will actually launch the Ansible playbook command to keep it separate. So all of our pre-check work has been done here to be able to kick off our building of our Kubernetes compute cluster. Thanks for joining today. We'll see you next time. You have a great day.